Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the fall campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Sunday when we ran through Return to the Secret Name, we picked up 4 experience, but we also picked up a mental trauma apiece. Jacqueline's mental trauma came from a timing technicality on shriveling, and Mandy's resulted from that same technicality. Short version, shriveling took Jacqueline out via sanity from the effect on shriveling, and because of that, I ruled that Mandy wouldn't have been able to evade both Your Worst Nightmare and Nahab, so I gave her a mental trauma after the fact. Also, Jacqueline took the Black Book into her deck, which added another skull to the Chaos bag. Anyway, in this video, we're going to spend the experience and then we're going to go through the tarot reading for the next scenario. With that, let's get into spending the experience. An observant viewer is probably noticing 2 things. We're still up top for this shot, and I said, we're going to spend the experience, not, we're going to upgrade the decks. Normally, the 2 phrases are interchangeable, but if you remember from when I wrapped the spring campaign, and I'll provide a link to that video in the description down below, I introduced a house rule that I was going to start as of the fall campaign, where the investigators can spend 4 experience to clear a trauma of their choice. Coming out of last week's scenario, what I needed last week was more time, not necessarily anything I can add to the decks. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with where the decks are at, and without feeling I need to make any upgrades right now, I could sit on that 4 experience for later. I was also making fairly liberal use of the Black Book with Jacqueline, though, and knowing how this campaign can spiral on the trauma front, we're going to make use of the house rule to get rid of our mental trauma. Arguably, I could leave Jacqueline's intact, which would leave her as a 6/8, but I think I'd rather have both of them at full strength, especially for later in the campaign. Anyway, that's our experience spent. Now let's get into the tarot reading. Without any further ado, let's get into the tarot reading for this scenario. So we've got the tarot deck right here in shot. Excuse the slight occasional throat clearing. Got a little bit of a frog in my throat. Nothing too bad though. But it's kind of one of those things where it's annoying enough to note, but minor enough to kind of disregard otherwise. Like it's not going to cause. It's annoying enough to note, but minor enough that it's not going to cause any problems. But anyway, first card up for our tarot reading. Temperance at 14. Each investigator gets +1 sanity on the good side, or each investigator gets -1 sanity on the bad side. So that would be like we had an extra sanity versus we suffered the mental trauma anyway. Card 2. The Lover's 6. When the game begins, each investigator searches their deck for an ally asset, adds it to their hand, and shuffles their deck on the good side. Or the bad. When the game begins, each investigator searches their deck for an ally asset, removes it from the game, and shuffles their deck. If you remember back in an earlier scenario, I want to say it was either the TCU-themed Carnival of Horrors or Return to At Death's Doorstep, and I think it was Return to At Death's Doorstep. Either way we go with the Lover's 6, Mandy would get Shocking Discovery out of her deck, not an ally out of that. So we do need to keep that in mind. Which might be either way we're going to have that anyway. So the question is, which one hurts Jacqueline less? And I think the one that hurts Jacqueline less is actually flipping Temperance 14. Because what that'll be like is since we wiped out the mental trauma from the last scenario, it'll be like we suffered that trauma anyway, but we can potentially keep that clear for upcoming scenarios. So on the good side, we're leaving the Lover's 6, which will get Jacqueline an ally in her hand when the game begins, and Mandy Shocking Discovery, which I won't object to either, because that will get Shocking Discovery out of her deck right away. And on the bad side, we're leaving Temperance 14, so each investigator has -1 sanity. Anyway, that will do it for this upgrades video. Thursday we'll be back on Twitch for Thursday Fight Night as we continue Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. Sunday will be another double day as the fall campaign continues on the YouTube channel with Return to the Wages of Sin, and then Sunday night I'll be on Twitch continuing my game of Front Mission 3. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.